Welcome to my sixth JavaScript video, and in this video I'm pretty excited to be covering random numbers. And the reason I'm excited to cover that is because that's the last little bit of information we need in order to create the rock, paper, scissors game that I plan on doing in the next video. So rock, paper, scissors, it's a simple game, but it's going to be a lot of fun to code. And random numbers is the last thing that we need to do that. So I have my code here from the last video just on the three different kinds of conditional statements, if, else, and then else, and I don't need any of that code, so I'm going to comment it out. Now's a good time to explain what comments are, so I briefly touched up on that last time. To make a comment is just a note that you can put in your code. So like if I want to say / to do, code this later and have a list of things I want to code later, / is how you write a comment. So you might see me do that several times more throughout the series. This will just, anything that appears on my line 33 of the code is going to be commented out. It is not a part of the code. You can see that the color changed to green on Notepad++ to indicate this was a comment. Multi-line comments, like say I don't want my comment to just be this one line. Say I have a whole lot of lines and I want to comment them all out. Well then, to use a multi-line comment, you do /* and at the end, */. And that's what you saw me do in the last video. I have my code from last time and I don't want to delete it, or let's just say I don't want to delete it. So I'm going to do /*/. And those are just your two different kinds of comments. A single comment is with two slashes, multi-line comment are with this syntax like this. And so that's another use of comments. Say you want code to, and say you don't want to delete code yet, but you don't want it to actually run, then you can just comment it out and it becomes ineffective. So now I'm going to leave this code here just so that you can see the comments in use. And I'm going to want to talk about the random numbers. So right now we have no way of making a random number from 1 to 10. Other than maybe having the user enter var number is equal to prompt, enter a number from 1 to 10. But really, I want the computer to generate a random number. And we're going to need this for the rock, paper, scissors game because in that tutorial, we're going to make a number from 1 to 3. The computer has to pick a number from 1 to 3. If it's a 1, the computer will choose rock. If it's 2, the computer will choose paper. And if it's 3, he'll choose scissors. But we need the computer to be able to decide these numbers for itself, not prompt. So here's how you do random numbers in JavaScript. We're going to need the math.random function. So you type it like this, math.random with two parentheses. When I say function, I basically just mean a command. Random is a command. I know that because it has two parentheses at the end. Math is the library that owns the random function, which is why I use the dot operator here. So you can think of it like that. Math is the library or the object that owns this function, and dot specifies the ownership. Random belongs to math. That's how I always explain the dot operator. Same with console.log. I'm not sure if I explained this. Console.log. Log is a function, not console. But console is basically the object that owns this. So log by itself wouldn't work. JavaScript, your browser does not know what this is, but console.log, it does know what that is. And I'm going to leave this here. So I'm picking a number, a random number. The math.random function will give you a random number between 0 and 1. Here's another use of a comment, just for notes to yourself. Math.random will give you anything from 0 to 1. That doesn't include 1, but it does include 0. So you're going to get 0 0.1, 0 0.33, 0 0.99, things like that. So now I'm going to run. I'm going to output the number, save, and then I'm going to, well, I need to open the console here first. I'm going to refresh. And I get 0 0.9659, and there's a lot of precision here. Wow, that's more than I remember. I'm going to run it again. 0 0.2, 0 0.6, 0 0.9, 0 0.6, 0 0.6, 0 0.4, That's what math.random will give you by itself. But I want to make a program that will give me a random number from 1 to 10. What I can do here to extend the range is I can take whatever this result is and multiply it by 10. So now I just extended the range. I can get anywhere from 0 to 10 now, not including 10, but 0 to 9.9999. So if I save this, refresh, I can get 6, 5, 1, 5.5, 5.4, 0.5, 2.0, and so on. So math.random will only give you between 0 and 1, but if you multiply that by another constant, then you just extended your range. And we're much closer now. But another thing I want to note, in our rock, paper, scissors program that we're going to do, we want the computer to choose a random number between 1 and 3, but that's not 1.1. We just want 1, 2, or 3. We don't want any decimals. So how do we get rid of the decimals that appear here? There's another really useful math function, and it's math.floor. So I'm going to create a variable to demonstrate. I'm just going to call it a is equal to, and I'm going to call it, or I'm going to make it 0.999. Now I'm going to set a, I'm going to reassign it. A is equal to math.floor a. So what this will do, math.floor a, is going to take this, whatever you put inside the parentheses. This is an argument, by the way, something that you put inside the parentheses for a function to work. That is an argument. So I'm passing in a into the function as an argument here. And it's going to take this, and it's not going to just round it to 1. It's actually just going to round down, period, as if you're just deleting the decimal point. So if I log a, it's going to give me 0 as the output. And we can see 0 right here. Math.floor simply rounds down. But now we see how it can work for this here. This is giving me a random number from 0 to 9.999. And I don't want the decimals, so I can take whatever this is and round it down by putting this as the argument for math.floor. In other words, I'm just going to take this code and put it inside these parentheses. So I'm going to delete this example, and we're going to add that. Math.floor, I'm going to open the parentheses here in between the floor and math. I'm going to close the parentheses here, like that. Number is going to be equal to math.floor, all of this. So all of this is our argument that we are using. This result is what we are rounding down. So now we're going to get integers as our answer. If I refresh, we get 8, 2, 3, 5, 0 to 9. And 9 is the highest we can get. Why? Because math.random will give you 0 to 1, but not including 1. We multiply that by 10, but since this is never going to be 1, we're never going to get a 10 out of this. So we're only going to get up to 9. So that's the last step to our random calculation. If I want 1 to 10 instead of 0 to 9, which is basically what this is giving me, this is kind of deceptive. I shouldn't have put 0 to 10. We're only getting 0 to 9 here. But if I want to get if I want to get 1 to 10 instead of 0 to 9, I'm just going to take this result here and add 1 to it, like that. And I'm going to do it inside of the math.floor function. I say inside because floor has 2 parentheses. One of them's here, the other one's here. So I took the result of this calculation and I added 1, which means 0 is no longer going to be an option. I'm going to get 1 or above, and I can get up to 10 now. So let's see that. I'm going to delete these comments. and then save. And I'm going to see how many times it takes before I get 10. All right, and I got a 10 officially. So that's how you get a random number from 1 to 10. The first step is math.random. It will give you between 0 up to 1, but not including 1. Then if you take that decimal and multiply it by 10, you're going to get 0 to 9.9999. If you add 1 to all of this result, well, now we can get 1 to 10.999. But if we round this down using math.floor, then we're going to get 1 to 10. And if that doesn't fully make sense here, memorization is totally fine. When I was learning code, most of what I was doing was simply memorizing the formulas, the syntax. I didn't really understand it until much further down the road. And that might be the same case for you guys, but doesn't matter. Hopefully that made sense. So now let's see another example. I'm going to change it. I want a random number from 1 to 100, so I'm just going to multiply by 100 instead. And I'm not going to log the number. Instead, I'm just going to do an if statement. If my number is less than 50, then I'm going to just say console.log your number was less than 50. And now I'm going to run this, and we have about a 50-50 chance each time. And you see that the web page is going back and forth between numbers that are greater than 50 and less than 50 here. So that's your introduction to random numbers here. If not all of this made sense, just remember a more simple way. It's just math.floor, math.random times, whatever your upper limit plus 1. So you can think of this as the formula. This is going to give you a random number between 1 and whatever your upper limit is. That concludes this video, and I look forward to the next one.